Right, we're now going to paint an internal door, and this is a door that opens inwards. So as well as painting the face of it, we're also going to paint the opening edge. And you'll notice I've got no door furniture on it. I always take the door furniture off so that I don't get any paint on it. It gives a much better job, and a lot of people, when they try and cut round a handle, they get a little bit on the handle and it sticks it to the door, so that when somebody comes to try to take it off later on, pulls the paint off. So to get a nice job, we're going to take the handles off, take the locks out. It only takes a couple of minutes, quicker than trying to cut round it, and it's a better job. First thing we're going to do is we're going to paint this edge. I've just used a little inch brush. The paint we're going to use today is an oil-based eggshell. Now, an eggshell paint can go straight onto whatever paint is there. It could be gloss, it could be another eggshell. You can go straight onto it. If you're using a gloss paint, then you should not put a gloss straight onto another gloss, because later on it looks all right when you've done it, but later on when you come to start rubbing it down, you're going to start taking flakes of paint off instead of causing a little dust. You'll start taking flakes of paint off and you're going to end up with a messy door. So whenever you're painting with a gloss paint, always make sure you use the appropriate undercoat. When you're looking on a colour chart, whatever colour it is, in a gloss, it will tell you what the undercoat is for it. Okay, so whatever colour you're using, you'll have a coloured undercoat to go with it. Now, we're going to, I'm using two different brushes here. I've got an inch brush and I've got a 2-inch brush. And there is a sequence of doing this. So we'll start by going around the edge. Again, when you're putting your paint on, bend the bristles to spread it, and then just feather it to get rid of most of your tram lines that you cause by with the thick paint. Just feather that. It's a lot easier to do this than with the lock in there. Feather it. When you put your paintbrush in, just knock it on the side so you don't get any drips. Just going to get a little bit of a tissue. Now when you're painting, you're only painting one side of the door. This is a different colour to the other side. So when you're painting the edge, what you're going to do, you're going to get a little bit on the edge just going down the side there. So what we do, we just get, you can use a tissue like I am, or you can use a piece of rag. Just wrap that around your finger and just put it just right on the edge like that, and you'll find you'll just get a little tiny bit of paint come off, but that will give you a nice crisp edge and you won't see it on the other side. Called the finishing touches. Right, now we've got, as you can see on this door, we've got 4 panels. So we need to paint this in a sequence. And the first thing we're going to do, we're going to paint the 4 panels. I'm going to use my inch brush first. just to go inside there. Push it in. This actual door is what we call a pressed door, and it's all grained. You'll see why, when I've finished these panels, you'll see why we do the panels first. What we need to do is do it in a sequence so that we don't get any dry edges. Sometimes if you're in a warm atmosphere, paints like the eggshell seems to dry a bit quicker than gloss does. And if you're using an acrylic paint, that will dry a lot quicker. So you don't want to get any what we call dry edges. Dry edges is where you've got the paint started going off that you painted previously, and then you come along with the wet paint and you'll see the joints. And we don't want that. We want everything to flow into itself. Right, we're now going to get our 2-inch brush and do the centre of this panel, and what we're doing, we're going off to the edges, all different directions, and then we just feather that up and down. What you don't want to do is do half the door, like the panels, and go away and have a cup of tea. Get it all done, so you don't get any dry edges. And make sure that when you are painting a door with this eggshell paint, or even with gloss, make sure you're covering it properly. If you're only doing one coat, which we will only need to on here, we don't want any grinning, which is the base coat showing through the top coat. If you've got grinning, it means that it needs 2 coats, so you put 2 coats on. But what you can't do with this paint when it's dry is patch up. So if you missed a bit in the middle there and it's all nice and dry, you can't come across and just, well, you can patch it up, but when it's dry you'll see where you've gone, where you touched it up. So pay attention to what you're doing, take your time so you can get a nice job on that. Now you can get mini rollers. It's showing you the 4-inch roller on a radiator roller. You can get mini rollers with a short pile. They're called a glosser. And you could roller your door. You could use a roller on it, get a nice smooth finish, or not a nice smooth finish, but a nice even coverage. I would only do that if I've got lots of doors to do. But if you do use a roller on a door, get it all nice and covered with a roller. And don't just leave it. Because if you just leave that to dry, you're going to get what we call an orange peel effect. And you don't want that because it feels rough. So once you've gone over it with your mini roller, get your 2-inch brush and just lay it off. Just with the end of the bristles to get rid of any orange peel effect, and you'll have a nice painted door. What you also want to do, I'm always looking back on the previous panel, because sometimes you might get a little bit of build-up of paint down in the corner there, and then you're going to end up with a run. And you don't want that, because if you end up with a run and you leave it, you're going to have to leave that until it dries properly, and a little run can take weeks to dry. So just check up when you work, make sure you've got no little runs. I always try and come off an edge if I can. If you start doing that and pulling it down like that, I suppose you can see that, but you've got a big load of paint there, and that's just going to run down and cause a massive run just along there. So if we do get something like that, let's feather it off and come off the edge like that. That panel's done. The reason we do those first is because all the rest of the door we've got to keep in a sequence, because what we've got to do, we've got the top one, these are called muntins. The top one, the grain's going that way, as is the middle one and the bottom one. These pieces here, these go up and down, alright? So we've got to go that way with our brush strokes, and the styles, they go up and down as well. So we need to paint it in a sequence so that we don't get this going across and having brush marks going across onto our styles. And we also don't want this middle piece going right to the top here, because if we've got brush strokes going across here and then all of a sudden we've got brush strokes going that way, it's going to stand out like a sore thumb. We want to paint the door as it's supposedly been made. So if you've got a flat door with no grain on like this, then we need to make sure that all the grain, the brush strokes, are going in the correct direction. Otherwise you're going to get, it's going to look awful. So the first thing we're going to do, we're just going to do this little bit of top half piece here, going into there. We're not going to do all the panel. I like to do the whole door coming down so that I've got nice wet edges all the time, especially if I'm using a water-based paint. So we've now come into there, okay, feathering it again. Now I'm going to go across the top. Making sure we cover all that, and into this panel here. Do the same the other side. Make sure you're bending the bristles. Spread that paint. Now, we've been going in all different directions. If we leave that, when that dries, you'll probably see all the brush strokes going in different directions. So we're just going to put our brush straight across there like that, just to make sure that all these brush strokes are going in the correct direction. Now we're going to start coming down the sides. Now make sure you don't get any on the hinges. Right, now again, we've got to the middle one. This needs to come down, and that needs to go up and down, and this one needs to go across. So what we're going to do, first of all, we're going to do the top part of this one. And then we can go across here. Right out to the end one. Same here. Again, we've come down into there with that, and we've come up into there with that. So now we're just going to just for the end of the bristles, make sure all your brush strokes are going in the correct direction. Then we can start coming down here. Same on this side. When you've got little holes like this, where the handle goes, come back to that a little bit later, make sure you've got no runs coming down from there. You'll notice that I've put paper under the door and not a dust sheet. The reason for that is when I go across the bottom, I need to get right down to the bottom. Now if I had a dust sheet down there and touched the dust sheet, I'd probably get hairs or bits of grit off the dust sheet. So that's why I have a nice clean piece of paper just under the door. I also leave the paper under the door until the door's dry. This reminds everybody that the door's wet. There you are, perfect. Now, before I finish, I just check that down the bottom of all these corners there's no runs coming down. Job done, nice job.